Did you know that there are at the very least 34.2 million people in the United States with diabetes? Teaching culinary classes in elementary school would allow for our future generations to become more versed in nutritional health. I will first start with how teaching our kids culinary classes would allow for more variety in our diets. Teaching culinary classes would also lower the rates of diabetes worldwide. Lastly, culinary classes would significantly reduce levels of stress in children. Starting off, teaching culinary classes to children would create substantial variety in our everyday consumption of food. Learning how to cook would let us depend less on going out and purchasing food, and instead being able to go to the farmer's market or a local grocery store and cooking a meal out of basic ingredients, which is way more cheap and more nutritious. For example, something me and my mom liked to do was go to the store, buy certain cuts of chicken, pork, maize, bouillon, chili pepper, limes, and cilantro to make a pretty famous Mexican dish called pozole. Me and my mom would bring home all the ingredients, blend the flavors together, boil the maize, and let the pozole cook overnight. Once the pozole was done, we would invite all our family and friends over, and we would all enjoy the pozole we made. In my opinion, culinary brings culture and variety to our lives, not just through taste, but through experience. Another positive outcome of teaching culinary to kids would be reducing the amount of diseases caused by malnutrition. The most glaring disease would be something like diabetes. A good way to start this would be teaching kids young about nutrition and cooking as this is what as this is when habits start. According to the NIH, in 2021, interventions measured over longer time frames, i.e., 48 to 144 weeks, found some decrease in sustained behaviors, for example, caloric intake and anthropometric measures, in an article written by Millicent Tamayo. This means that in the long term, people were consuming less calories and showing signs of healthier lifestyles and bodies. Now that you know teaching culinary classes would allow for more variety in our everyday diets, and that teaching culinary classes would lower the rates of diabetes worldwide, I would lastly talk about the fact that teaching culinary classes would lower the amount of stress in a kid's everyday life significantly. Imagine being a parent working 8 to 10 hours a week and coming home to see your 12-year-old cooking you a filet mignon with a big smile on your face. Cooking is an escape for children, something that they can focus on rather than the internet or other non essential worries. Findings suggest that cooking programs may positively influence children's food related preferences, attitudes, and behaviors. As stated in another article by the NIH written by Derek Hirsch in 2014. The article goes over 8 studies, all which reflect positive results and all showing that cooking is an enjoyable experience with nothing but positive effects when demonstrated by children. On another note, some may say culinary classes may be considered a waste of time or resources, especially in a world that moves so quickly. People don't seem to have enough time to make their own food and to watch what they eat. School budgets may be a very limiting factor when it comes to culinary classes. Some schools may not have enough funding to even supply their children with pencils or laptops, and much less a kitchen. But culinary skills can be taught very easily. A student could be sent home with a new recipe every day or every week, and at the end of the week, come back to the school and perform a potluck. This would bring the morale in schools up and increase attendance. The more attendance a school has, the means the more support it gets. And the more support it gets, the more money they receive, And the more money that a school receives, the more money that could be invested into a child's future. The higher the budget means the more opportunities a child has. Culinary isn't just to inspire children to cook, it is to motivate them to educate themselves and be happier. Children could grow to be proud of their cooking abilities and maybe even turn it into a passion, such as being a chef or working in a restaurant. In an article written by the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics by Peter Hannon in 2003, frequency of family meals was positively associated with the intake of fruits, vegetables, grains, and calcium-rich foods, and negatively associated with soft drink consumption. Now that you know teaching culinary classes would allow for more variety in our diets, teaching culinary classes would lower the rates of diabetes worldwide, and that teaching culinary classes would reduce stress levels significantly, I will conclude with a question. When was the last time you cooked something?